If you are new to plant-based eating and you need some ideas on what to make for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and maybe even dessert, you're in the right place. Here are some simple and delicious vegan beginner recipes. Let's first start with banana pancakes. To a blender, you will add 1 medium banana, 1 cup of your favorite plant milk. This is unsweetened soy milk. Then we'll sweeten it up with 2 tablespoons of your choice of sugar. This is brown sugar, but you can use white sugar, coconut sugar, any sugar works, even maple syrup. Instead of oil in my pancakes, I like to use either applesauce or peanut butter. So today I'm adding 2 tablespoons of peanut butter instead of oil to help keep everything moist. 1 teaspoon vanilla and about half of a teaspoon of cinnamon. This is optional. If you don't like cinnamon, that's fine. A half a teaspoon of salt and 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Let's blend all of the wet ingredients together and then we'll add in the flour. And we'll finish with 1.5 cups of whole wheat flour. I like to use white wheat. It's just not as heavy. It's a lot lighter. If you can find it in the store, then try to go for white wheat. Let's mix all that together. You should have just a nice pancake consistency. If you needed to add more milk, that's fine too. Then we'll heat them up. This recipe makes some beautiful pancakes. Seriously, look how fluffy these are. These things are so fluffy. So good. I don't even need syrup with them. It's amazing that you really don't need oil or eggs or any other type of animal product to make some delicious pancakes. You can top the pancakes with your favorite fruit or nuts and of course syrup. For lunch, let's make a basic cashew Alfredo. We'll start by boiling our favorite whole grain noodles. While that's boiling, you'll chop up 1 onion. This is the secret to making this taste so good, the onion. You'll understand in a second. You'll just roughly chop it. It doesn't have to be perfect because we'll put it in the blender in a second. Next, we'll water saute the onion. Here is the secret. You want to get to the point where you start to see browning right there on the pan, and then you'll take some more water, add it to the pan, and it just brings out a lot of flavor. We want this flavor in our Alfredo sauce. So we deglaze that pan and make sure all the onions are cooked through. The pasta is done cooking, but I'm just going to let it sit here for a second because I want to use this water in the blender. I'm gonna add all of these onions to a blender. Then you'll add 1/2 cup, a little bit heaping cup of raw cashews. If you don't have raw, that's okay. I couldn't find any at my local grocery store. But if you do not have a high-speed blender, you'll want to soak your cashews overnight or boil them for 15 minutes first. Next, we'll add 3 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, and this is what will give it that cheese-like flavor. And then 1 tablespoon of oregano. This brings in a lot of flavor as well. So you'll either add 1.5 cups of veggie broth, or what you can do is just take that water from the cooking pasta with some veggie bouillon paste, which is how I like to do it. And then this heats up the sauce since the water's already warm. So 1.5 cups of water will be 1.5 teaspoons of veggie bouillon paste. We'll finish it off with the juice of 1 lemon and about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Then we'll blend everything together. Rinse the pasta, and then we'll add the sauce on top. Then you'll top it off with your favorite veggies and some pepper. And here you go, Cashew Alfredo. This was my go-to pasta that I had for years. My kids love it. Sometimes I'd sneak in some spinach and make it a green pasta. It's a great base that you can build off of. Now, all of the recipes we're cooking today are found in our 6-week meal guide, which is linked below. And while you're down there, make sure to check out our free 1-week meal guide so you can get more ideas on easy beginner recipes. Next, let's make a cashew chicken recipe. Now, this is one of my favorite recipes, and honestly, I used to make it all the time before we went plant-based. But now, all I do is make a very similar version by changing it up with chickpeas instead of chicken. It's super simple. Let's put it together. We'll first start by cooking up some rice. Next, we'll chop up 2 onions. I am doubling this recipe in order to feed my family, so I'm gonna do 2 onions instead of 1. Then to a pan, we'll add a little bit of water with the onion and saute that with 2 to 3 cloves of garlic. But since I'm doubling that, that's gonna be 4 to 6 for me. While that is sauteing, I'm going to chop 2 bell peppers. I really don't like chopping, which is why I love my chopper. Makes everything go by so much faster. I've linked it below. Seriously, one of my favorite Amazon purchases. You can see the onions are starting to get translucent, so we'll go ahead and add our bell peppers. Now we'll add 2 cans of rinsed and drained chickpeas. Then we'll add about 1.5 cups of water, and then either a veggie bouillon cube or veggie bouillon paste. I'm just adding 1 heaping teaspoon of veggie bouillon paste. Next we'll add 4 teaspoons of sugar. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm using brown sugar. You can use coconut sugar, you can use white sugar, any sugar works. Oh, I'm doubling this. I need 8. I need 8 teaspoons. I did double the water, so 8 teaspoons. My kids love YouTube days where I film YouTube because they come home to all this food. I gotta make sure I make enough for them though, that's why I'm doubling it. So the secret to this is oyster sauce. Now this is regular oyster sauce, but you can also get some vegetarian oyster sauce or vegan oyster sauce that doesn't have real oysters in it. Depends on obviously what you're wanting to do, but you can usually find it in the Asian aisle. So either the vegan version or just the regular version. It is 4 tablespoons. I'm doubling it, so it's gonna be 8 for me. This is what gives it the same flavor as cashew chicken. Cool thing about using chickpeas instead of actual chicken is this goes by so much faster. This whole recipe cooks so fast. Now I'm just gonna add in some frozen spinach and kind of crumble it up to add more greens and color to the dish. This is my go-to recipe I make when women just have had a baby and I'm bringing over dinner because it's so fast and easy, and literally everyone I have made it for loves it. You do have to find that oyster sauce, which is probably the only tricky thing about this recipe. And people have made it without the oyster sauce at all. I mean, it still will taste good. It'll just be a little bit different of a flavor. It won't have the authentic cashew chicken flavor. Perfect. Now we'll turn off the heat and finish off with the star ingredient, which is cashews. It is 2 cups of cashews, 1 cup if you're not doubling it, 2 cups if you are. And I forgot to mention earlier, if you like it spicy, then you'll want to add just a dash of some hot pepper flakes. Red pepper flakes. You'll want to add just a dash of some red pepper flakes, just for that little bit of a kick, if that's okay with your family. We'll scoop it up on top of our rice. Yum. And you'll top it off with some green onions. It is so good. It's like a sweet and salty, I feel like I'm at a Chinese restaurant. It's so good. All right, let's have dessert. Let's make a chocolate mug muffin. All right, you will grab your favorite mug and then add the dry ingredients together first, which is 3 tablespoons of whole wheat flour. This is again white wheat. Then 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder, 1 teaspoon of flaxseed, 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and then just about 1/8 teaspoon of salt. So just a dash of salt, a little pinch. And we'll mix all those dry ingredients together, just like you would mix a cake, just a mini version. All right, next we will add 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. It's gotta be sweet, you know? 1 tablespoon of applesauce, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and 2 tablespoons of plant milk. Your favorite kind. If you have sweetened, use sweetened just for an added sweetness. Otherwise, anything works. Now we'll mix all that together and then add in some of our mix-ins. From here you have an option of adding some chocolate chips, about 1 tablespoon or 2, and then about 1 tablespoon of crushed walnuts if you would like. I like walnuts in my brownies and my chocolate cakes. I think it's yummy. We'll mix that in and then we'll place it in the microwave for about 1 to 1.5 minutes, just depending on your microwave, so keep a close watch. We'll start with 1 minute and check on it. Look at that, about 15 more seconds. And then we'll top it with more walnuts and chocolate chips. All right, let's eat. Oh my gosh, nothing better than your own personal mug cake. It's so good. You can also add things like peanut butter on top or any other of your favorite chocolate cake toppings. You gotta try this one. If you like these recipes, make sure to check out all of my other recipes on how you can easily add more plants to your diet. It's so much more delicious than you can even imagine. Trust me. It is good. I don't want my kids to know I made this.